And when I said I've got this fight coming up, they just give me a fight, it's happening in Waterloo, and I told them where it was, and I was dead excited. He went, didn't even look at me, he said, if you don't knock him out in the first round, I'm going to knock you out. And I remember going to that first fight, seeing this kid, and I just walked over to him and said, I'm going to knock you out in the first round, man. I'm going to knock you out. And he just looked at me like I was fucking around the bend, because I was scared. I was more scared of me dad than I was of him. And I was fighting him, the feelings, you know, and the memories and the pain. And I'd bury it and suppress it, and I'd become someone else. Put a drink in me, and I became a little bit more courageous, a little bit braver.
Yeah.
Put a drug in me, and you know, and it affected me differently. Different drugs affected me in different ways. Ecstasy, cocaine, heroin, crack. You know, it was all taking me to one place in the end, which was like surrender. You know, I've had enough. Started getting the things that I'd never had before, like a provisional driving license. Wow. Yeah. Like a bank account. And these things, drug addicts who were in the grip of fucking addiction don't get. A friend said, get yourself a passport, we'll go on holiday. Get a passport. Where should we go? Thailand? Never been. I never left the country unless it was on a sweatbox, going to another prison, so it was quite new. He showed me the idea of this beautiful paradise of a country, you know, the women, the food, the weather. I'd served a lot of time in the UK, and I'm not glorifying prison, you know, and I'm not making it, it's not collaboration, I don't like it, I do wish it, I regret all the stuff that I've done.
This is why I like to podcast you, because you do have regret, you do have a knowledge of knowing that, you know, it is a waste of time, and what you're doing with your life now is like way positive, you know, for people to just be looking at you and being like, do you know what, you're a decent guy.
And when I got to the airport, he went, have you ever been in trouble in Thailand? I went, no, lied straight away, you know. I was flat. I went, no. He said, have you ever had an overstay? I went, well, yeah, I've had an overstay. He said, oh, do you know how long ago? 5 years. He went, well, look, the reality is you can't come in. You know, you're barred from Thailand. So I was like, you're messing. And this was at Manchester Airport. I'm glad I never travelled to Thailand. It gets back to like a feeling, like you know, the feelings where you fuck it out. This is shit. This gets home on the doorstep. There's a letter, right? Picks it up, opens it from the oncology department. Cancer. Unit. We need you to come in immediately. Positive for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3 cancer. And there, straight away, was that intervention. Someone said, you're not going to Thailand, Bill, because you need to go home. You need to pick up that letter. You need to open it and you need to read it, because you can't spend 3 months in Thailand not knowing what's going on, thinking that's just a fucking lump. Right?
Today we have an amazing guest, Billy Moore. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. This probably looks familiar if you guys follow Billy, because we're in his studio. So, mate, I appreciate you loaning us your space and
anytime, man.
Coming on.
You're welcome.
Tell us a bit about yourself, mate.
I'll tell you a bit about myself. Well, that's my favourite subject, to be fair. So there's a lot that's already been said about me, and you know, obviously people have seen the film, read the book. The journey is still ongoing. You know, it always will be. But it always started, a little bit about myself and my background growing up. It was quite difficult because I always felt different, separate and alone. I didn't even feel like I belonged in my own family because I was ostracised by my dad. You know, he was, you know, I never showed any love. We lacked that closeness and that intimacy. And that was always missing from my life, you know. And it contributed to a lot of behaviour growing up and going forward. You know, to impress my dad, I wanted to join a boxing club. And I joined the boxing club for his approval. Just so he'd like me, you know, but it became good. And then once I started learning a few skills, building relationships up with people outside of the household, I didn't really need his approval or his acknowledgement.
What is it that part? When did that connect with you? That, you know, like, how much into the boxing career did you start before you started realising that you didn't need your dad's approval?
I'd say it was after I won my first few fights.
Did he come to him?
Yeah, the first fight, and I've always said this, I've written this a few times, so if you've heard it, you know, I apologise, it's just going to get said again. I remember going home, really excited. My dad was sitting in front of the telly. We never had a remote control. He used to turn the TV over with his feet. Right, sitting next to him was next to him was a can of lager, and he'd have a cigarette and he'd be flicking his ash, and he'd miss the ashtray. I'd be on the floor, just a fucking total scruff, you know, just sat there doing his thing. But he was my hero, and I loved him, and he was my dad. And no matter what state he was in, you know, I wanted his approval and his love. And when I said, I've got this fight coming up, they just give me a fight, it's happening in Waterloo, and I told him where it was, and I was dead excited. He went, didn't even look at me, he said, if you don't knock him out in the first round, I'm going to knock you out. And to hear that, you know, just sent shockwaves right through me body. I was full of fear. I was like, this is not what I expected. My expectations were quite different from what I was thinking when I was on the way to tell him the good news. So you can imagine how I was feeling. And I remember going to that first fight and seeing this kid, and I just walked over to him and said, I'm going to knock you out in the first round, lad. I'm going to knock you out. And he just looked at me like I was fucking round the bend, because I was scared. I was more scared of me dad than I was of him. And I was fighting him.
Yeah.
You know, and I got in the ring and I stopped him in the second round, and still I didn't feel like that was good enough. I went home and told my dad, he said, you didn't even look at me, you had the trophy. He went, how'd you get on, did you knock him out? I went, no, I did in the second. He went, okay. And then after that, kind of ignited a bit more of an interest in his feelings and thoughts about it. And he came along to a few boxing shows, and he was, you know, cheering me on. He was always pissed, and that kind of embarrassed me.
Alcoholic pissed.
Yeah, he was fucking hell, my half. I was a proper fucking bevyhead, like, you know what I mean? Like the ale, like smashing the house up, like beat me man up. There was a lot of violence, subjected not only to myself but to my mum. And that kind of separated me from society, and I felt myself isolating. I had no friends, no one would knock at the door for me. You know, I was the oldest out of 6. I had, you know, obviously 5 younger siblings. But my mum had 6 kids within 8 years, so she was very busy with a lot of young kids. I was the oldest, so I never had that opportunity to be a child and be free and do things that they do and go out and enjoy. I was minding my younger brothers or taking care of my sisters, making beds. Left with a responsibility your dad should have took on, and it was left to you, Yeah, because my mum was out working, but my dad was out scrounging. You know, and I don't want to put my dad in bad light, because going forward, things changed. But at that time, like we did that adverse childhood experience that I was subjected to from that early age affected me massively. You know, I felt really insecure. You know, my dad would say to me, you know, son of mine. I know I was, but to hear that from my father, you know, son
why do you think he was so tough on you? Did he ever explain to you? Because now, like, you talk and stuff, have you ever asked him and just turn around and say, like, because, you know, when you sit there and you say that you was just looking for approval all the time, I mean, you could have gone down a totally different route and been drink and just been exactly the same, you know. But you thrived for that fight for him to be proud of you. And did you ever, like, just say to him, like,
no, I was too scared. I couldn't ask him a question, you know. I think the only time my half fella showed me any love was when he came home and he was pissed, you know, and you knew it was just like, they were happy times. We were kind of people pleasers. If he's happy, we're happy.
Yeah.
You know, the households, if he's angry, everyone's upset, and we're all like in the shadows of his fucking, like, anger. It was quite volatile. So yeah, asking that kind of sitting down man to man and having that talk would never happen. You know, and I never did. And I always wish it, from like looking back now, I wish he had the opportunity to ask him about his life and what it was like for him growing up and what was going on for him.
Yeah, we don't understand that trauma. Like, we're going through a trauma that's been given to your dad, for instance, when he was younger. He's probably acting on behalf of what happened to him, you know, and then progresses that on into the next, because as far as he's concerned, that's how a dad should be. If his dad was exactly how he was, and that's what I was saying just now, like, you could have easily followed that, you know, and been exactly like that.
Well, to be fair, that probably was worse than what he was, in a sense. I always remember saying to my mum, you know, I'll never be like my dad. And she said, oh no, son, you're a good boy. I was only young. He had dreams. I wanted to be a boxer. I wanted to join the army. It never happened. You know, it never happened. I was always a loner. I felt ashamed of who I was. I felt embarrassed of my dad. I didn't want anyone from school seeing who he, you know, what he was like. So it was all avoiding people, which was quite a lonely place to be in.
Yeah, I can resonate with that.
Going to school, feeling like I'm not fitting in from day one. Getting called a tramp because we never had the same clothes as them. You know, we were getting our clothes from fucking community, fucking, what are they, school, what are they called now? You get them.
I know what you mean, because, like, you know, when I was saying to you about growing up in women's refuge, whenever we moved, we had nothing. We had to leave everything behind. It was just a case of pack some clothes and go. So I've always had hand-me-downs. You know, you got the lost property from school. You get the hand-me-down school uniform. You get the clothes that handed down from, you know, they're worn-out trainers. But they're
we had clothes that everyone else wore that you knew that you got them from one of those community hubs, and so that was a tough beginning. And, you know, my boxing career, you know, I was winning a lot of fights as a young kid. I was enjoying it. And, you know, I think during the breaks from the boxing period, there was, you know, you're meeting girls and you're relating with other people, you know, and then there's drink involved. And I didn't realise I had a problem with alcohol or drugs, and that I had touched one, I had an allergic reaction, and I didn't break out in prison sentences. I didn't break out in lumps and bumps, I break out in prison sentences and a lot of other fucking things, you know what I mean, and pain, misery. I ended up in loads of trouble, you know, and that addictive personality. I don't stop. I picked up heroin. I picked up crack.
What made you start going from alcohol and an addiction for approval? Because that's what it sounds like. You know, you've got an addictive personality. Like, you wanted to show your dad, so you've done everything you can to you know, so you was like involved, like non-stop trying to do that, you know, going to alcohol, to class A drugs. Like, where was the transition in that? Like, what made you start picking up getting heavier and heavier with it all? Was it, would you put that down to the trauma from a child, or?
Yeah, definitely. It was more to escape the feelings, you know, and the memories and the pain. And I'd bury it and suppress it, and I'd become someone else. Put a drink in me, and I became a little bit more courageous, a little bit braver.
Yeah.
Put a drug in me, and, you know, it affected me differently. Different drugs affected me in different ways. Ecstasy, cocaine, heroin, crack. You know, it was all taking me to one place in the end, which was like surrender. You know, and I've had enough. I'm wanting to stop, but not knowing how to.
Yeah.
You know, and going on that never-ending cycle of using for a long time. You got to understand, you know, heroin was back in the 80s. There was an epidemic that hit Liverpool massively. We didn't know what it was. We took it. It was called Smack, Sky, Brown, Bobby. We had a go, and then we're hooked. You know, I loved it. Couldn't stop. A couple of months after taking it, I hated it. I wanted it to end, but I never had the willpower to say that's enough.
Yeah. And
that relationship with drugs carried on for about 15 years. And that took me to many institutions, many prisons. You know, it wasn't the drugs. People say the drugs, don't take drugs, they'll kill you. The drugs weren't killing me. It was the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was the lifestyle that went with it, the violence, you know, the unmanageability, you know, the ducking, the diving, the sneaking around, gangs after you because you've robbed someone. This is what it was like for me. You know, I've been slashed, I've been stabbed, you know, I've been shot at, I've had my ear bit off. You know, these things don't happen because you wake up one day and you're going to have a boss career. You know, you've got to take responsibility and be accountable for who you are. Now, I had the blame for it. It was his fault. It was our fault.
Yeah.
It's because we had beans on toast when we were kids. That's why I am the way I am. It's because we had shit clothes, you know, because we were called scruffs. Just blames everything instead of going, okay, Bill, but did you have a choice? Well, I go, well, not really. No, I never had a choice because I wasn't offered an opportunity of having a choice. There was no guidance. There was no intervention. There was no role model. My dad battered me ma and I thought it was normal. I seen it happen. I used to think everyone's ma got battered by the dad because that's how it was at our house.
Yeah.
But does your dad does he batter your ma as well? No. So then I feel a bit different.
Yeah.
And then I think I can't talk to them because they're not going to identify with it. I remember going to the police, fucking scared, and my dad had fucking chased me, and they just took me back home. So I lost faith in them and trust in them from an early age. Police, again, you know, there was no one I could trust with the feelings that was going on, the fucking horrible pain, and the balls of anxiety that were going through my fucking body. You know, but drugs kind of became my best friend, my only friend.
Yeah.
The relationship that never...
Feeling of escape.
Yeah.
Not realising that it's actually killing you off.
No.
It's isolating you by suppressing all of the things that you should be dealing with. It's just blocking it all out, so you just take more and more. Yeah. Next thing you know, you're an addict. And that's hard to come to terms with.
See, admitting you're an addict.
You know, you see someone that takes crack and you call them a crackhead, they get absolutely angry. Not a crackhead, you know, like they get angry because they don't come to terms because they know that the drug that they're taking is not a good one. They know that it's not the one, you know. It's a bit of a low drug, that one, isn't it? You know, crack and heroin. But
drugs are shame. That's what they call them, right? So you got sociably accepted drugs, yeah? Cocaine, cannabis, alcohol. Alcohol is a drug, right? And then you've got drugs of shame, heroin and crack cocaine. People don't want to be associated with that. When they're out there and they're having ecstasy and they're having this and that and the other, you get involved in that's all sociably accepted.
Party drugs.
Yeah. You know, everyone's fucking got their own little scene with that. But these ones, it's degradation.
Yeah, it's like you'll rob your nan, you rob your mum, you do all of that lot with that drug, and it does come with a stigma. It does come with a massive stigma. But you've got to sit there and think to yourself, you know what it is that you're taking, but you take it. But why? Like why? Like why does no one ever sit there and go, like, wow, you must have been low, you know? I need to help you. I need to know more about the reason why you've took probably the lowest drug that you could possibly take in the drug chain of drugs, you know? Like, but no one, once you start taking that, you're exiled. You're pushed to the side. No one wants to know the trauma. No one wants to know the damage. You are alone. You're gone. You're a scumbag.
But then you've got to understand, right? You've got to meet people halfway. So there was people out there that did try and reach, but I wasn't ready to be. You know, I was unreachable at that point in my life. Again, it was a moment when I went to prison, and it was once again I was in Walton Prison, up the road from here. You know, I'd had enough of doing what I do, and I couldn't fucking stop. It was the same thing again, back on the landings. And I remember talking to this little half fella, and he said to me, you know what, Bill? Just remember, you know, you're not getting any younger, and things doesn't get any easier. And that just resonated with me. Right, it resonated with me for fucking hell. I think I was about 25 at the time, walking around in a pair of Reebok classics, right? I thought if I had a new pair of trainees when I got out, I'd be sound. That was all I was thinking about. And we went on the yard. It was the hottest day of the year, 2003. And you know when you've just had enough and no one's helping you, and the answer to your problem was the door getting shut in your face. That was it.
Yeah.
we thought, no, I'm going to rebel. And we decided to have a sit-off in the yard. It was nice. We're not going back in. The screws are screaming, get yourselves in, we're not going in. Okay, an hour's gone by. 2 hours have gone by. So we get on the roof. Okay, so next thing, we've got lads from shells throwing sheets out the window. We make these into a rope. We get this young kid climbing up, shimmying up this drain pipe. You couldn't fucking invent it. He got up this drain pipe, got to the top, tied this rope, and then lads started climbing up onto the roof. Right. And the first kid that got on the roof, the whole jail screamed and yelled, and the windows were banging, and it go ahead. And he was standing up there like Rocky Balboa.
I bet it was electric.
And he was like, wow. And I'm looking up going, I want some of that. That's the attention I want. That's what I need. That's a bit of me. And then it was my turn. I was halfway up. And I'm the oldest. I've been on medication as well, loads of antipsychotics, so my fucking ass is fat and bloated, and I'm like just like slow motion trying to get up, right, like a snail. Halfway up, I've heard this screw called Mr. Muscle, he knows who he is, shouting, "You'll never get up there, you fat ass." Right? And I swear, like, the fucking rope started to slip in my hands, and next thing I just slipped right the way down, bang. And my ass, the coccyx, me fucking hit the fucking concrete. But the shame, and I went to the ground to open up, and I thought, fuck this, they're all looking at me, get back up. It turned into something like a North Sea rescue in the end. I'm halfway up again, and I'm going, get him up. Fucking hell, shut the lads like that, pulling me up, get him up. So it gets up like a fucking clambered up. Your legs over, I'm out of breath, right? It's not even that high, right? I stood up, the whole fucking jail fucking screamed again, the windows are banging, there's number 3's up, the boom, yes! The minute the noise stopped, I looked around and thought, I want to jump off. What the fuck have I done here? Because I knew the consequences, they were going to be severe. You know, this is mutiny. You know, we're rebelling against, like, the institution.
Yeah, Majesty.
Yeah, we're getting up on a prison roof, but it's a riot. You know, we're inciting a lot of violence by doing this. And, you know, 14 inmates climbed up. And we were up there for about 16 hours. Hottest day of the year, bad mistake. Took me top off. Bit of coconut oil that someone had smuggled up there.
You guys are fully prepared.
Oh, we were ready. Eating Mars bars a lot while all the screws were downstairs, surrounded the prison with all the riot shields, eating ice creams, just like that, looking at us, you know, telling us to come down. And I was actually the first one down after 16 hours. I ended up having heat stroke. Come down on a cherry picker, on a stretcher with a crash helmet on, strapped in, with everyone going, "Stay up there, lad, stay up, don't come down." I was like, I'm joking, I'm going to get off. That's enough, I don't even know why I'm here. No, I lasted this long, because it was getting cold enough at night, right? My body was all over the place. I was feeling really ill. I was burning up. And they just kind of handcuffed me to the biggest screws you could fucking ever come across, you know what I mean? They're just massive, big, 6'6" fucking screws. And took me to the block.
Did they dig you out, or did they just be like, that'll teach you, because you had heat stroke?
No,
you was burnt.
We were in the block for about 3 days, and I remember there was like 8 on one side and so many on the other side. And what's happened was they're shipping us out. Right, I remember this well, they're shipping us out. So there's coaches coming in, different prisons. So they've come to the cells, so they've got to the first cell, I've heard screams, ah! Then it's getting closer, the door's open. Face the wall, ah! It's getting closer, and the kid next door to me going, "I'm not going to scream. Fuck these, Bill. Fuck them. Come on, we're ready for this." I'm going, "Me neither, lad." Right, so they got to his cell. Alright. Ah! I thought, fuck, I can't fucking scream now, you know what I mean? And then my door's open, I'm ready, prepared, mate. I'm facing the wall, band behind me back, ready, and they're twisting me up. But for some reason, he hasn't got me in the right lock. So it's not hurting me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm just making out of this. I thought this, because they're painful, them locks. They just threw us on a bus. Little kick here, little kick there. Not that we weren't used to. And I was taken to Armley in Leeds, put in a block for 8 months on a GOAD, which is a good order and discipline. So, you know, I've got a bit like a BOV, Board of Visitors Review, every month, every 30 days, where I've got to go in front of a BOV. And they were saying to me, how do you feel, you know, what's changed? And I was going, no, man. Boom, another 30 days. I was like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
30 days. So I just stayed in the block for a long time. Whilst I was down there, I got friendly with the neighbours either side of me. One afternoon, the riot bell's gone off, the alarms, they're blaring. My flap's open. You okay? Yeah, why? What's going on? Bang, it's shut. The kid next door, he's hung himself, and the kid opposite me, he's hung himself. So they're packed, right? Both of them are doing life, they're both young, and they've both hung themselves. And I remember the screws, because they were horrible down the block. They were horrible, they weren't giving you no time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They weren't acknowledging it. You know, you're down there for a reason. But they started to become really nice. Do you want a cup of tea? Yeah, there's a biscuit. You know, dead friendly, because they didn't want it. Obviously, they've got 2 deaths on their hand in one fucking afternoon. Like, I'm in shock. Think, fucking hell, what's going on? I'd had enough as well at this time. I really had enough. And it was like, but I never had the courage to ask for help. You know, it was that muggy pride that was going on. And they said, do you want a phone call? I remember saying, yeah, can I speak to my mum? I just spoke to my mum for a while, and they took me the phone. Again, on these manual locks where they open you up, SOPO, screws, you know, they're just surrounding your shell. And I felt like fucking, like something special, you know, putting that mask on, coming out the shell, oh mate, whatever, yeah, alright. Continue the phone, fuck off. But the attitude he had was terrible.
Was it different though? Because like down in the block, no one can see that. It's just you.
It's just me. Yeah.
So like you're feeling that, but for like
I'm doing it for their viewing. So when I goes to the phone, I phones my mum, and she answers. I've got 2 screws standing next to me, and I went, "Yeah, hi, mum." She said, "Is that you, Bill?" And she started fucking sobbing. I was like, whoa, you know, this is a bit awkward, because I didn't think she cared about me. I didn't think she was really that bothered. And are you okay? Where are you? What's going on? You know, you haven't been in touch. And I had all this feeling, all this emotion. I was quite raw. You know, you've got to remember, that take me away from drugs. I'm like a fucking bare light bulb without a shade. You know, I'm quite raw. And so I had all these feelings going on. And they were coming up, and there was tears welling up in my eyes, and I thought, fuck, I can't even answer it. I couldn't answer it, because I was afraid that I'd start crying. And I didn't want these 2 screws to see me. And I just said, Mum. And she said, look, I know you're eating. Ask for help. I went, okay. And I went back to Shell, sat down, really, like it was trying to keep these fucking, my eyes wide open, because I knew if I blinked, they'd be pouring down my face. Sat on the bed, the door got shut, and I just sobbed. And I realised that, like, I'd had enough. And I wrote this letter to a probation officer, asking for help, the first time. That was the word that resonated, to ask for help, son.
That's real.
And it kind of...
Especially because it come from your mum as well.
And it opened up something in me. And it was the first time that I reached out and asked for help, and it came in the form of my probation officer. And he offered me a rehabilitation. And I found myself in Bristol in a rehab called Barleywood, which is no longer there, which was a mock Tudor mansion in the hills, which was lovely, with a lily pond, and it was trees everywhere, and it was quite like serene. And I had this street mentality when I walked in. Although I wanted help, I still had that street mentality, skinhead. And you know, the minute I walked in, I was like, yeah, all right, whatever. You got a problem with drugs? Didn't understand what the drugs problem I had. I thought I only had a problem with Class A's, but I learned that I had a problem with everything. You know, every drug that I took was a gateway drug to the drug that took me to the knees. Mm-hmm. So that smashed me denial, that rehab. And then I went and joined the fellowship of recovery, met a few people that were quite positive in my life. Started getting the things that I'd never had before, like like a provisional driving license.
Yeah.
Like a bank account. And these things, drug addicts who were in the grip of fucking addiction don't get, right? So for me to get these little bits, I felt like something was normal. Something was starting to become a little bit normalised. And a friend said, get yourself a passport, we'll go on holiday, get a passport. Where should we go? Thailand? Never been. I never left the country unless it was on a sweatbox, going to another prison, so it was quite new. He showed me the idea of this beautiful paradise of a country, you know, the women, the food, the weather, you know, you could live like a king on fucking peanuts, and I was sold, you know, I was in. So we saved a little bit of money, got a bit of recovery under me belt. I felt I was about 18 months abstinence from everything, didn't smoke, didn't drink, training every day, drank loads of water, was quite fit. And we were going on this 3-month backpacking holiday of a lifetime.
Was you ready for that life? Was you ready for the change? At
the time, I believed I was.
Because, that's a big step. Not only, coming out of recovery and getting back into the normal world, but a new country, a new language, a new money, new people, new...
Obviously, I wasn't aware of how I could cope with certain situations. I felt I was strong enough because I was streetwise, but affairs of the heart were quite difficult and quite different.
Yeah.
You know, rejection was another one, like you said earlier on. People saying no to me, you know, that was quite difficult to accept. Because I always took what I wanted. You know, but now I had to be honest, open-minded and willing to kind of live and be a productive member of society. Go on this 3-month backpacking holiday with the friends. It was a few years in recovery. It turned out his agenda was quite different from mine. He wanted to go and spend most of the time fucking sleeping with fucking Thai birds, and my time was, you know, wanted to go see the landscape and, you know, go to the beaches and enjoy the beauty of it all. So we parted company, let's say a couple of weeks in. So I'm on my own, but I kind of liked it on my own, to be honest. You know, I went to Chiang Mai, seen the Muay Thai boxers, got involved with a few of them, met a girl, fell in love. She couldn't speak English. Our relationship was based on a dictionary. I found out she had another fella. It broke my heart. Couldn't deal with the feelings. I'm 3 years clean, sitting in a bar, and next thing you know, I'm ordering a whiskey, knowing it's like two drugs, innit? Every fibre in my body screaming, you know, fucking just drink it. And there's a part of me going, look, there's going to be a consequence. So we had that battle going on, which before I wouldn't have thought twice if I just drank it. So I had this kind of semi-awareness, so to speak.
Did you neck it straight away as soon as it turned up?
No, I looked at it and played with the idea. I was in pain, like emotional pain, turmoil.
Give me goosebumps, man.
Yeah,
because I'm envisioning you at a low with the feeling of love, or what you think is love at the time, to fighting the passion to escape the feeling at a bar where you know it's so easy to slip, and it's just sitting there in front of you and fighting that. It gives me goosebumps, mate, to just know that you were feeling that at that time, to be able to just take that shot and put you back to where you back to the beginning.
You've got to understand, right? You know, it's like slow motion. I'm looking at this glass, and I'm looking at the ice, and I'm looking at it melting. I'm looking at the water at the side of the glass dripping down. Right, so I don't even like whiskey, but I know the contents of that glass are going to change the way I feel at that current moment. And I was in turmoil. I was clean, and I also knew, and it was fuck-its that were going on. You've got to understand, I've got fuck it, man, fuck it. You know, you'll be okay. You'll be all right. You know, I was manipulating myself into going for this drink. believed that if he only had the one, I'd be all right. It wouldn't be that bad. Just the one. Just the one. I remember necking it and feeling it going down my sarcophagus, and it was quite warm. And my body just started to tingle. And then boom, the addiction. It just kind of burst out of me, and it was like, more.
How soon was it from you necking that in slow motion and feeling that running through your body before you then was like, put the glass down and asked for another?
Didn't ask for another. I go straight to drugs. Boom. Picked up a phone of a guy that I knew had been using. He was in recovery, he'd relapsed. I knew he had access, or he knew someone who was selling something, and he was my go-to person. Told him what had happened. Within 10, 15 minutes, he was in the bar. I tell you what, we wanted coke. We went straight away for heroin, we went to coke. Just wanted to go and party. Right? I wanted to go and party, meet a bed. That's it. Put a plaster on a disaster. You know what I mean? That's what we do. We put a plaster over a fucking disaster. Ended up going to the back alleys of Chiang Mai, meeting this lady boy. They're the ones you're going to speak to.
They'll know everything.
They know what they
want. Everything.
And we wanted fucking crack. We wanted coke. She said we got yabba. Never heard of it. Never heard of it before I went there. And we didn't know what it was. And we went back to this apartment, purchased these tablets, these little pink WI they had on it. And they smelled that sweet. And we were like, what the fuck are these? Like, there was 200 baht, 250 baht. They were getting ripped off, to be fair. We were. So we were like, what's this? So what you do, you put on the foil, burn it, and it turns into like oil, like heroin. Like, fucking hell, what is it? Is it this gear? And she went, no, this is yabba, like methamphetamine in tablet form. Smoked it, got this immediate feeling of like euphoria and high. It was like, wow. Right, it was just
like a party drug, or like the disaster drug.
No, it was like a party drug, very much so. Like alert, very alert for a long time. The whole crazy mad feeling. Spoke to a few of them. Didn't like the fact that we couldn't fucking relax. We were just wired.
Yeah.
Right. So we wanted to have a come down. So we decided to get on our bikes and go to Burma and buy heroin. He knew that he could go and score. So we went to, it's Myanmar. Actually, it was Myanmar. It's changed its title, hasn't it? From Burma to Myanmar. We got the border, flipped the coin, went through, scored heroin, come back, smoked that. That's it, been in the grip. We're using. And that's all how it began. And then from then on, it was like funding a habit that you developed again after a long, long period of abstinence. You're in a foreign country, you've got no family, you've ostracised yourself from your friends, you've separated yourself from recovery, you're back in the grip of addiction, you're mixing with addicts again, right? But this time, you're not even on your own turf, in your own country. You're somewhere else, that you can't even speak the language. I enjoyed the fact that I could, I had that, like, I don't know what it was, it's like, I could get access to these tablets because Thais would be more trusting to foreigners because we could communicate with other foreigners and
tell them that where you could get it from. Yeah, then of course.
I moved them on. So I was getting like these tablets in bulk, smoking most of my profit, selling whatever I could, going to any lengths in any ways and any means to fund me habit and keep it going. I was quite it was quite like, it was just a game, that cycle of fucking using.
Did you do it as a partnership with the guy that was relapsing?
No, that did pretty like within days, because I'm like a greedy addict.
Have you ever spoke to him again?
No idea where he is.
Because it's mad, isn't it? Because like, with you being clean, him being clean, you're both relapsing, and you know yourself that when you are on heroin or crack, that sometimes you end up pairing up because it's better to do it with somebody.
The codependency, you've got the codependency with Because a relationship with drugs, you're codependent on, you know, on the drug to keep you company.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, well, I mean, like, I hope he's in recovery and doing positive things now, you know?
Do you know what, mate? It's been that long, I can't even remember his name. I remember going to meet, it's just fucking mad, isn't it? How you forget? I remember that Alan Scott was another foreigner, but he wasn't in recovery. He was just out there using. We sort of partnered up in a sense where I'd get drugs, pass them on to him, he'd sell them on. So he was sort of he was doing my little runs for me. I ended up getting arrested. And then 3 months later he got arrested. We were both in the same prison, in the same cell.
Oh, wow.
I actually done a podcast with him.
Yeah? I'll have to watch that.
Yeah, so it's on my platform, Alan Scott. Thai prison hell. He was in the same cell as me for 3 years. So we had a relationship outside before we both got arrested.
Yeah.
I'd met him. He was a likeable kid. He was using. He could get rid of like X amount of drugs pretty quick. So it was easy for me to get them in bulk, get a profit, pass them on to him, get paid from him, and do the same again.
So the time that you went into to jail, was this the time when they based your film about your life? So you were in jail at the same time.
Yeah.
Did he understand the language?
No.
It's mad. So when I watched your film, and I'd watched it, like it is just seeing you like laying there on the floors, you know, and
see the film, right? You see the book gives you a bit of a backstory. I've shared this story, Paul, I don't know how many times. So forgive me if it don't really feel as enthusiastic as I used to as when I was talking about it in the beginning. But when the book's sort of like a backstory, right? There's a lot going on, the contributing factors, the growing up, the behaviour, you know, the journey into recovery, and then the relapse in prison. But the movie starts straight from Bangkok, bang, straight into jail.
Yeah.
Which is great because you don't really want the long backstory. But going into that prison, I'd served a lot of time in the UK, and I'm not glorifying prison, you know, and I'm not making it's not glamorous, and I don't like it. I do wish I regret all the stuff that I've done.
This is why I like to podcast you, because you do have regret. You do have a knowledge of knowing that, you know, it is a waste of time, and what you're doing with your life now is like way positive, you know, for people to just be looking at you and being like, do you know what, you're a decent guy. You know?
I don't even like, I can't even believe that's the same person. So when I went to Cannes Film Festival and I'm sitting in an audience of 2,500 people, like wearing a tuxedo with Clint Eastwood, right, and a lot of other massive celebrities, like sitting there, and then my movie comes on this big screen in the biggest cinema in Europe, in Europe, by the way. Right, I'll tell you what happened. Right, I watched it and I was cringing while I was watching it. Right, and I was looking around thinking, oh, fucking hell, I can't believe these are here watching this. You know what I mean? Oh. At the end, right, there was a standing ovation for 8.5 minutes, and that's on YouTube, by the way. Right, it's not me just saying it. It's actually actual factual. You know. There was an 8.5 minute standing ovation, and I'm looking at the guy who's financed the movie, some American guy sitting next to me, and he was lovely. And I was like, fucking hell, did you think they liked it? He said, hey guys, he said, you know what, we're in France, he said, and these are the harshest critics you're ever going to come across. He said, if they hated you, they'd boo it even if you were here, man. They fucking loved it. And I was like, wow, why? You know what I mean? Because I couldn't understand, I couldn't really like imagine why people find it so fascinating. And
for me, yeah, when I watched it, I connected with I think you picked the right person for it.
Oh,
yeah.
Joe, brilliant.
I genuinely believe you picked the right person, because you see when like a lot of the film, like a bit silent and stuff, you know, and you can see his emotion on how you would have seen it. I mean, you must have been proud of what he'd done to portray you as how it was, because for me, the silence in it, yeah, was the noise. Yeah, because you could see it. You know, the feeling of being lost.
Less is
you
more.
could see, mate, and like you could see like him being lost in the prison, you know, amongst all of the people, amongst everything. And when I saw it, and you know, like, you know, I didn't purposely go onto the film and think, that's it, because I didn't know before that. I watched that like when it come out, you know, and then I seen a podcast that you'd done before, and I was like, no way. Then I watched it again, and that was just even more powerful. But when I watched it the first time, I didn't realise it was a true story until I realised it was a true story. And then I was like, mind-blowing.
It's so cool, like, incredible. He was Charlie Hunnam was picked first. Charlie was on board. Charlie was in Sons of Anarchy. Good-looking kid, great platform. Producers needed a name to sell the movie. I didn't know any of this at the time because I'm quite new and it wasn't savvy to the industry. I'm sitting around the table. There's loads of paperwork out there, contracts bill. We want to make a movie. I thought you wanted to fucking make a fucking advert. Never mind a movie. I only come and approach you because I had a book that I just released and it was only getting sold in Thailand, and I wanted a bit of exposure for it. Didn't expect you to be sitting down after reading it and going, we want to turn this into a feature film. This is the truth, Paul. I'm like, what the fuck? So I'm sitting around with all these. So I'm feeling a bit less than I don't feel like I fit in. You know, everyone's all dressed smart and they've all got a few quid behind them. I come on the bus with a carry bag with a script in it, right? Right, this is how it was. I come on the bus, right? They refused to see me for the first few occasions, and I was like, you know, can I see the manager? I was not here. And eventually they said, look, we'll take this off you, and we'll be in touch. Can you leave us your details? And I was reluctant to, it was the only one he had, you see. Yeah. And I was reluctant to just hand it over because it was all that I did have. But the young lady, you know, she kind of like reassured me that everything would be fine. So I gave him my email address and a phone number, and I left it with them. And I went, how long? She was like, 3 or 4 months. Fucking hell, that long. 12 weeks later or so, I get a phone call. I'm on the bus, just had a breakup with some girl who it was just destined to fail anyway, and I was in all them feelings. And this young lady's phoned me up. I went, Bill, we need you to come in. We need to sit down with you. The producers are really excited about what this book, and they want to approach you around something. I was like, oh, really? So I was all like, wow, from a negative feeling that I was just being going through to this positive like phone call. I sat down with them, and they were talking about like actors and, you know, these big stars, and I was like sitting there thinking, fucking hell, is this real? And then they've got Charlie Hunnam, he's on board for a year. I get loads of fans from the back of that because he's done a little bitty interview, and all his fans jump on it. Charlie Hunnam was going on a new film, Pray Before Dawn. I was looking at him, and I'd seen his acting, and I wasn't too keen on his acting. But the producers were quite like keen the fact that he had a big platform. I wasn't really feeling it, to be fair. Although I was excited as well. But after a year, he went to King Arthur. He done something with Guy Ritchie. Yeah. We're King Arthur time management. So obviously, we haven't had the funds. You've got to raise money to make a film. The director said to me, look, Bill, there's this young guy, Joe Cole. I went, who is he? I'd never heard of him. He said, he's in Peaky Blinders. I'd never watched it. He used to have a little look. But I'd seen him in a film called Young Offender. Yeah. Right? And I liked him in that. And I'd seen that before I even knew him. So when I seen that, I thought, I like this kid. You know, but the producers weren't too keen on him because he wasn't a big enough name. Yeah. So they need a name to sell the script around these like film festivals that they go to. So I was following all the festivals that they were doing. Cannes, fucking the ones in everywhere they were going. Fucking. So he put me in touch with Joe, the director. He said, me and you'll get him, Bill. Right? We'll have him. We'll ask for him. So I got in touch with Joe. We're talking, we're communicating. And he was keen. He was like really on board with it. He wanted to do it, which was good because we had that contact. Eventually, yeah, he came on, and we had this relationship for quite some time where he was in contact with me like at least 3 or 4 times a week because he wanted to do a character study. He wanted to know how complex and needy and all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
He wanted to, because I was a fucking needy, complex guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He needed to find out all that information. And he wanted to mimic the boxing stances, and I'd be doing videos for him, and he'd tear up, and I'd go on set, on the Peaky Blinders set, and sit with them and have something to eat and have a chat with him. Every time he was up these ways, we'd meet up. So there was a lot of contact, which I thought was positive. And then we got enough finance. I think it was 1.2 million to make the movie. I was at the airport in Manchester, bought a ticket to Thailand to go and spend 90 days there, right, on set. And plus have a little bit of a break. And when I got to the airport, he went, "Have you ever been in trouble in Thailand?" I went, "No." Lied straight away, you know. I just laughed. I went, "No." He said, "Have you ever had an overstay?" I went, "Well, yeah, I've had an overstay." He said, "Oh, do you know how long? 5 years." He went, "Well, look, the reality is you can't come in. You know, you're bad from Thailand." So I was like, "Fucking hell, you're messing." And this was at Manchester Airport. I'm glad I never travelled to Thailand. It gets back to like a feeling, like you know, the feelings were like, "Fucking hell, this is shit." This gets home on the doorstep. There's a letter, right? Picks it up, opens it, from the oncology department, cancer unit. We need you to come in immediately. So I had something on my neck that I didn't know what it was. They thought it was like a hematoma. They done a biopsy, come back, it was positive for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3 cancer. And there, straight away, was that intervention. Someone said, "You're not going to Thailand, Bill, because you need to go home. You need to pick up that letter. You need to open it and you need to read it, because you can't spend 3 months in Thailand not knowing what's going on, thinking that's just a fucking lump." Right? I was in hospital and having surgery 2 days later, right? I'm telling you, because of I was an intravenous user as a kid. I mainlined a lot. They couldn't get a vein. Now, they needed this to be they needed this biopsy immediately. And they couldn't get this vein, and they had to do open surgery on me while I was awake, right, on my neck. And it was the most painful experience I've had. They've cut me open, they've numbed it, and I could feel it. I could feel everything going on, and my neck was wide open. I had this nurse hold my hand for about 19 minutes. It was horrible. I was gritting my teeth. I was in pain till eventually he stopped. And I tell you now, that was to go through that was fucking horrendous. Then I was come back. It was positive for cancerous anomalies. I'm on the chemo. Right, my life's great, by the way. Prior to this movie, fucking a book. I've got a house, a car. I've got a job. You know, everything's positive and doing all the right things. I'm 5 years into my recovery, clean by this stage, and I'm hit with this news. I'm given medication, and again, it's like you give me medication and tell me to go home and use 2 tablets every 4 hours. They turn into 2 every 2 hours, turn into 4 every hour. Tell you what, I'll take the lot now, and I won't have to take any tomorrow. This is the justification that goes on. So I'm taking the medication, so I'm abusing it now. I'm over-relapsed, but I'm justifying it. I'm over-relapsed. I've got thousands and thousands of pounds from this movie, right? But the minute they do the first camera shot, you get paid. That's how it is. The first click of camera, bang, your contract is active, and you get a sum of money in your account. I've got thousands in my account. I was off sick from work, and they were paying me, so I had money coming in. I had income. I had a lot of income. And I actually thought I was going to die. I thought, fuck it, I'm going out with a bang. And when I scored, hit the ground, running hard, picked up everything you can imagine, started to use and abuse it. my hair was falling out at the same time because of the chemo, so I wouldn't go out. I went down from 16 stone to 9 stone. I lost my job. I couldn't pay for my car. My girlfriend left me. I lost my house. This is all what's going on. Like, everything's crumbling around me. So I'm losing everything. You know, I'm running out of money. And I never had the courage to I was on the red carpet, by the way, right? Fucking blagging, using, but putting that mask on, that was okay. In 2 days, I kind of like avoided using other things and I took medication. I'm kind of managed to get through them 2 days of my life.
Did they give you an estimate of time that you had? Did they say to you, like, if we can't, then you're going to be getting this? Or did you just think to yourself, look, I got cancer, I'm going to die, I'm just going to hit it hard?
Yeah, you don't think like that, do you? I don't. Their questions. Well, I don't know. It's not a question. I want how long I've got left, please, mate. Yeah, okay, sure. I didn't ask. Didn't want to know. What you don't know doesn't hear you. That's the kind of way I was living. So, you know, when I did get I broke into my neighbours, right, and fucking got arrested. This is the lowest. I'm at my lowest point now, right? So I broke in to my neighbours and went back to my own house straight after, and you know when like I immediately like thought, what the fuck have I done? They were on holiday, you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't like him anyway, and it was wrong. It was wrong. And I spoke about it to the producer. Phones up and said, look, I need help here. I'm destroyed. I'm doing things I don't want to do, and I'm going to places where I don't want to go. Can you help me? And they paid and funded me to go into a rehab up in Essex. It was a high-end rehab. I was in a bad way. I got it was like just after I'd been given the all clear on February the 8th, 2017. Being given the all clear, but I was still in the grip now. I was using. I was full of like remorse and regret. And I felt terrible about the things I was doing. Asked for help, reached out, got it, went into this rehab, 5 months clean. Coming back home, I get arrested for the neighbours at this time, because I was out the way. Gets charged, goes to court, clean, and gets 2.5 years in prison. So I'm standing in the Crown Court, fully deserved. You know, you've done something that you should have done, and these are the consequences. You know, but even though I'd explained the contributing factors that led up to my behaviour, and you know, for everything positive going for me, and I relapsed. You know, that judge didn't take a blind bit of notice. You know, this is not normal behaviour. You've been out of the system for over 15 years, give or take. You've got a job, a house, a car. You're doing a lot for the community. You've been given a diagnosis. You've relapsed into addiction, and you've done this. But we're going to give you 2.5 years. Okay, accepted. Go to prison. I'm in a prison cell when my film gets released in the cinema. It's already been shown in Cannes. That was the initial kind of screening. So now it's in the cinema worldwide, and I'm in a fucking cell. Everything that I've waited and wanted for a long time coming to fruition is now fucking out of my hands. This is what happens. This is what happens when I take drugs. I become a monster. I do things that I don't want to do, like many other people. And it fucking ruined me. Paul, it ruined me. It ruined the way I felt. It ruined everything that I fucking built up. All that respect from people, my family, my friends. You know, it all fell apart. And that was over, like, it was 5 years ago, over 5 years ago. No, and I'll be 5 years clean this year, September.
Congratulations.
5 years in recovery, and I have not, and in that time, you know, I got out of jail and I still felt all that guilt. You shouldn't have, well, why did you? And, you know, and I didn't know how the community would look at me and the people around me. And I have now built up, you know, a positive relationship with people in my community, and I've been of service and I've been of the benefit to them, and I've given back because I've robbed my communities for years. I've been a desperate junkie, and I believe that giving back is the only thing that, you know, I can do. And I don't think it's I don't want a bouquet of flowers for what I'd be for doing, but I do because, you know, that the person that commits those offences whilst under the influence is not the person that you see now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you know, I'm not ashamed to say, well, I've done that.
Yeah, because you've took responsibility for you.
Yeah,
you've took responsibility for you because now you have an understanding that your direction is based upon the way that you act.
Yeah,
and the way that you feel about yourself. I think it's very important that when you hit that stage of your life that you can understand and accept your mistakes. You can apologise for them and mean it. You can like absorb it and move forward and accept that truly wasn't who you are now, but it was who you was then.
Yeah.
Because you wasn't ready to face who you truly. Like if you was to go back and tell yourself 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, that you was going to be doing this, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it because what you're doing is positive, and you don't feel like when you're at a low in your life, whether it's drugs or whether it's just mental health in itself, that you are capable of loving yourself enough to be able to push through to save others from what you say and do. You know, actions do have consequences, and unfortunately, you know, it's easier to act in a negative than what it is in a positive, because, you know, with a negative you don't have to have feelings with it, but with a positive, you that actually attacks you as a person. So
I'll tell you something that happened to me, right? It's like, you know, the minute I done that, I committed that crime, you know, I was fucking ashamed of myself. I contacted the producer, we got help. Right, I'm in recovery. Right, I'm becoming the person that I should be, not the person that I was. So the property that I'd taken at the time, when I came out of that rehab, I got it back and I returned it. Right, I actually took it to court because I couldn't let go. Be honest, that's yours.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that. The court had never heard of anyone turning up before sentence with the property that they'd stolen to give back, right? And I don't know, I just felt it was the right thing to do. Give them a little bit of the soul back, give them a little bit of peace back.
I think, yeah, absolutely correct. Like I think when we were out committing, you know, heinous crimes or anything like that, you know, especially when it's like robbery, your castle, your house, your home, you know, I think it's one of them where you can give the property back and you can say to them, but I think the biggest thing is what we don't understand is you've been in somebody else's home. You've taken away the man's pride for just stepping in there, you know, because that's his castle, that's his palace, that's what he's got to protect, that's what it's all about, right? So you imagine if someone broke into your house, you'd feel like, hang on a minute, like you didn't just rob something, you stepped onto my thing, you know.
Exactly.
So that takes it again there to, like, you know, creating that negative tornado of, like, you know, repercussions of a man's feelings. You know, like what you've took from him is not just a material thing. You've actually took a piece of what he felt was pride in his place, you know. And
that's exactly where my thoughts were taking me, you know, not about me, about the other person, about the effect that it had
first sign of change.
Yeah, of the ripple effect that it had in that place. And you know, for me, it didn't make me feel good at all. It didn't make for a long time. You know, don't blame myself now for what I did in my addiction because it was an illness.
Did you see that? Like, do you see now that you know that wasn't you? That was the drugs, and a lot of people that don't realise that, you know, when you're hitting hard drugs like heroin or crack or anything like that, is the person that you see and the actions that they create.
When the police showed me that camera evidence, right, after 5 months, I denied that it was me. Although it was, right, that person, I don't even know who that person is, right? That behaviour is quite odd, right? It's not me. Although it was me, you know. Obviously.
I know exactly what you mean. You're lost. You're not the same person. You're a different person, you know. And the person that you become when you're on drugs like that is, you know, you'd love your mum to you blue in the face, but when you're on stuff like that, you could rob her too. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've never shared this, right? So this is a first. I've never really shared this story the way in depth with anyone on a podcast. I've written about it in my second book. And I've explained everything that went on and the feelings that I was going through and the feelings that the other person must be feeling. It was easy to write it down, but to speak about it and vocalise it like I am now, it's quite, that to me does bring up a lot of like shame, a lot of guilt, and no matter how much I do, I still feel that it was wrong. Well, it was, you know, there's no ifs or buts about it. But what can I do today to make that change? And what I do is I provide a service to people in the community who are less fortunate. You know, offer guidance, say, look, this is what I did. Don't go down that road. You know, there's change. Think about what you're doing first. Reflect on it. Have you so there's a lot, like I do a lot with Weapons Down, Gloves Up, which is a community-based project where we go and speak to kids and offer interventions on county lines, gang culture, knife crime, awareness, mental health, addiction, crime and consequences. There's nothing you could say to me that I haven't experienced. That's always like, but you haven't done it. Because years ago, you get someone go, well, you know, you need to stop taking drugs. But how do you know? Because you've never took drugs. So now it's like you need. I don't say to people you need to do this, and you need. It's not for me to tell people not to take anything. You know, it's a choice. Just like be careful with, you know, with what you're using, and be mindful about how you behave. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine you are. I mean, you know, I've never done drugs. I've been a victim of it. You know, growing up watching my brother take it and stuff.
Well, there you go. So you know your brother Paul, right? Do you believe your brother would have done half the things he did?
No. This is why I know exactly what you're saying when you're saying that it wasn't me, because I fully understand, because half of the things that my brother done, I know that wasn't my brother that done it.
And I know I've got 8, and I know people will judge me for me past, because that's what people can, you know, are good at, judging you on your past actions. Not like you could. If I was actually there and I was sitting with you and then going out and doing things like that, now you fucking hell.
Yeah.
There's no integrity there. You know what I mean? What's this kid doing? You know, there's no change. But like, yeah, that is the past, and that's where it is, and that's where I'm keeping it.
Yeah, and the stuff that you're doing now is like it echoed to me massively. Like, you know, I spurred an interest from like what you went through. I connected with the character, like I said. I then started looking into you, and you know, I seen a couple of podcasts that you've done before, and I was just like, wow, you know, like this geezer, you know, like he has been through it. Like he has really been through it. And then I start seeing all the positive things that you're doing, you know, the help of the thing. The main thing I loved was the relationship that you started creating with your brother. I said that in a podcast that me and you had done. But I started seeing that, and I was like, I see it, and I wish I had it. Do you know what I mean? So you inspired me. You inspired me massively, especially with your brother. It was massive for me. And then some of the other things, like you say, with weapons down, gloves up.
Yeah.
And just the fact that you've got lived experience, you will have, and of course a face. You're a face, you know what I mean? So, like, being all of that, you know, I think that people like ourselves were tested within our life to be able to, when we're ready, to accept who we was and what we want to become. I think we were set here for this reason. And I think we had to...
Better go through all that trauma, that pain, that turmoil.
Why else would you go for it?
No.
Why else would you go for it?
See, I've gone through a lot of stuff, even after Thailand. Obviously, we shared on that, we touched on that. There's a lot of contributing factors to the way I behaved and the things that I did. And, you know, I was wrong, hands up. You know, we're not all Mother Teresa's. We make mistakes. It's about, like, making amends. You know, we could be, and changing, you know, your ways. And that's what I've done. I do a lot with my brother because I feel like I've neglected him growing up. In a sense of, like, I haven't really spent time with him. He's just been there. Now he's part of my life. He's part of my journey. You know, I'm giving back to the community. It's not about what I'm doing and giving, and it's just, I feel this is the right thing to do. You know, and look for positive change. I'm not here about it. I'm not here to incite violence or glamorise prison or glamorise crime. You know, it's quite sad. It's a quite lonely, desperate way of life, to a point where, like, you're on your knees and you're asking for help. If you've got the courage enough to ask for help, you know, you're taking that step forward.
Yeah, one of the things that my podcast is all about is the message, and the message is clear for me. You know, after I lost my brother, it was very important that I made people realise that the way that we thought back in our day, that that's not the way. You know, and it's only until we start running out of time that we start to realise, what was it all for? What was it all for? Can you imagine if we had the brain that we had and the passion for what we got now, 20 years ago, the difference we could have made? So now we fast forward everything, try and cram everything in and try and do as much as we can as possible. Hence why these podcasts are always good, because for those that we can't reach in person, we can reach on a screen of thousands at any given time. You know, and that's what I like about, you know, a lot of people, they say that social media is a negative. It's only a negative if you want it to be. You know, if you choose to see it in a negative, you're going to see it in a negative. But if you're ready to live our experiences, our pain, our passion, and our success squashed into an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, and you're ready to learn from that, and it changes your life, give me the internet any day, mate. You know, because, like, if I thought that the internet was nothing but poison, I'd stay away from it, because it's a trigger point for me. I don't need to be triggered. I don't need to have any reason to go back to the person I was, and I'm sure you don't either. You know, because you know how easy it is to fall. Yeah, so we try and cut out that negative. We try and keep pushing for the positive, because we're fully aware that any negative in our life can step us back in the hole.
Yeah, guaranteed.
So there was a phrase I heard once before on social media. It was quite one that resonated with me, and it was an older guy, and he was like, "Show me your friends." Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah. And
he's like, "Show me your friends. Show me your goddamn friends, and I'll show you your future." Blew my mind. It blew my mind. You know. So when I started seeing all this stuff, and I started hearing all this stuff, it's because I allowed to accept positivity, which is something I rejected for a long, long time, you know, which left me in the hole, because I was okay with being on my own, because if I was on my own, I didn't have to show anybody how I truly felt, which I thought made me weak. And it's not until you do let it out that you actually feel like a man. You actually feel like you can help. You actually feel like you're starting to be cured from the negative that you carry within yourself, because that really hasn't got power. The only person given the negative power is you. You're the person that's feeding it. As soon as you stop feeding it, opens your mind, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah. Thank God for pain in some ways, mate.
It is, and you know, sometimes it's thank God for other people's pain, because it's through other people's pain that we learn to change.
Well, that's how we all link together in this whole message. You know, we link it. You've been through a negative, and you found your positive in it. You know, and you know, so it's that all famous saying, isn't it? Like it's so hard. It's so hard to be good. It's so easy to be bad. You know, and you know, it's like you've got to try and flip that on its head and just think, yeah, it might be hard being bad, but the rewards for yourself is by far greater than any reward that you'd get in a negative, no matter how powerful it feels like it makes you. You know?
True. Yeah, you can't see that away, can you?
Nah. So you've battled everything, man. You've battled mental health, addiction, you know, being on the big screen, having your own book, now helping your community and people around the world. You know, like, I got nothing but respect for you, mate.
Thank you very much.
You know, for even before we'd even met today, we spoke a couple of times on the phone, voice notes and what have you. As my spelling's not that good, you've probably seen. Like, what the hell is this geezer saying? Some voice notes for me. So a quick one before we shoot. That 8.5 minutes ovation that you was at your film festival, that 8.5 minutes, you said that when people were standing there clapping, you wanted to know if that was a good thing or not.
Yeah, it was just odd, innit?
And then when you climbed on the roof of the prison, the ovation is what you done it for.
Yeah.
Did it feel different?
Oh, definitely, yeah. It was something positive that was getting clapped for, and it wasn't like a negative kind of like enabling you to continue doing what you're doing and face more years in prison, because that's quite, lad, what a dickhead you are, basically. What a knobhead. Crack on with it. You know, this time I was thinking, these are different. But you've got to understand, you live a life and you experience something when you share it with someone. Like I shared this, I've shared it a million times, Paul. It's like, it's going to be probably the last time I'll talk about this ever, right? Because I don't really like doing podcasts, but I respect the fact that you've come down and I'll do this with you, you know, because I think you get to a point where you're all talked out with it, you know. But yeah, and it brings a lot up still. But this time, you know, when you compare that standing ovation to that one, it's very much positive. You know, even though I was in a negative place mentally, still a positive attribute.
I like that. So the ovation that you got, feeling very different to the one that you got, hence why I turned around and said, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, because you're getting the ovations, you're getting egged on to do something stupid, right? So that's your friends at that time. You understand? So now, through your own merit, you've been given an ovation for pureness. Yeah? You had a whole festival of people, standing there for the first time, understanding your journey, your story, your pain, and to get an 8.5 minute standing ovation. I would love to have known what that felt like at that given time. It must have blown your mind.
Oh, it did, yeah. That's a little how mind blowing it was over here. It's something. Let's have a little look.
I'll find that on YouTube as well if I can, and then put it on the end of this podcast so people can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do that then. It's there. Yeah, let's see. Let's set this one. Oh yeah. This was before.
Oh, you weren't joking that there was people there? Where are you?
This your call there. I will be there. Brilliant. There, mate. There. Yeah. Get on it. Yeah.
Well, they all face you as well. Like, I got goosebumps from that. I reckon I would have cried.
Oh, mate, it was an experience. Like, but yeah, that can you imagine? That's fucking out. That's the shout out you get at the end of it. It was like, wow.
That was more than what I imagined a standing ovation to be.
Was it?
I just thought of an assembly. I didn't think of an arena for that with that many people.
No, it was like thousands of people.
Yeah.
So it was like it was an echo, like, thunderous, and everyone was going, yeah. And I was like, fuck, are you messing? Never had. It was like, it's quite bizarre.
Powerful, mate. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know you've gone over it a lot, and I know that you've, you must be getting tiresome of the story, but your words will save people's lives, and together on our journey, I'm glad I got to share that with you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.